the whole world is going to get a whole lot louder. And what we found over the course of 2024 is that noise is overwhelming for everyone involved, including us as practitioners. Like, we live in this world every day. We're staying on top of the new exciting news that's coming out. But if we just continue to kind of bullhorn everything that's happening, we're going to lose people.
Welcome to the Tourism AI podcast, where Josh Huston and I talk about all things at the intersection of artificial intelligence and tourism. Josh, first of all, Happy New Year. Welcome back to work after what was hopefully a great holiday break.
Thanks. Happy to be here and excited for the new year.
Nice. Excellent. Well, since it is 2025 and this is our first podcast back, we thought it would be a good idea to talk about kind of predictions for 2025, what we see happening in the AI space, and importantly, also what we're going to do about it. And I think, Josh, maybe I'll let you start because you kind of, as we were warming up or talking about this podcast ahead of time, I like the way you phrased it, so I'm just going to let you talk about zigging and zagging. So go ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so this year, what we've been talking about a lot in preparation is how much noise there already is and how much noise there's going to continue to be. Like, it's going to get so much louder in the space. When we talk about noise, we're referring to the news about AI and announcements around new capabilities, new models, better tools, tech, etc. There's also a ton of news of people talking about like best practices, talking about AI adoption, talking about how do we as business people take advantage of the new capabilities of these tools and tech, but also don't get lost, like how to not get lost in the mix as well. So when we talk about the noise, we're hoping to bring clarity and simplicity and like a very clear path to the people that we work with, because the whole world is going to get a whole lot louder. And what we found over the course of 2024 is that noise is overwhelming for everyone involved, including us as practitioners. Like, we live in this world every day. We're staying on top of the new exciting news that's coming out. But if we just continue to kind of bullhorn everything that's happening, we're going to lose people. And I think the one of the main kind of reasons behind this is that the world is waking up to AI for the first time. Like, for the last 2.5 years, all of these concepts have been new to the first movers and new to the first adopters and the early adopters. We're just now ending the phase of early adopters and now starting the mass adoption. So in 2025, when the whole industry talks about agent this, tool this, automate that, we're talking to people who are experiencing these tools for the first time, and they don't need all the noise. They need a very practical, quick win that they can start with today. They need to learn how to build intuition for themselves and feel more comfortable, and they need to experience that first aha moment for themselves on their own journey and not be burdened by all of the noise, not be burdened and overwhelmed by all of the, well, you're missing out if this, or if you didn't get to that. So basically what I predict is that the industry is going to zig, and all of this noise and all the complexity and all the capability will increase. And meanwhile, it's going to be continuing to leave like normal business people behind. But those are the people we help. So our goal is to help bring people along without all the overwhelm.
Yeah, no, that's great, Josh. And I do think it's going to be a very noisy year. So I'm just going to kind of just sort of jump off what you said there and we're talking about. And I think a couple of things that we can expect that's going to make it even more noisy in 2025 than it was in 2024 is just to sort of help people have context for what we're talking about here is number one, I think these concepts of AI agents, this is sort of where we're at in the AI journey overall in terms of the frontier or where the most technologically advanced companies are with developing these tools. And we will be paying attention to AI agents and even trying to maybe help people understand AI agents at a very basic level, what they are, and try to bring some clarity to your point around that concept, because I think it is going to be a big conversation, but I think there's going to be a lot of hyperbole around it. There's going to be a lot of, noise, for lack of a better term, because there are interests out there with respect to trying, the frontier models and the Googles of the world and the open AIs of the world are all trying to compete for being in the lead, for investment dollars, for all kinds of things. And so they're going to be making all kinds of claims like they've already been around AI agents and their capabilities and all those types of things. Whereas, in the world of our clients, an AI agent could be something as simple as a custom GPT, or in our Tourism AI Copilot Pro tool, they're called agents, but essentially they're not, this Jetsons future thing that people think about as, some robot's going to be in your house doing all these things and we're not going to be having jobs anymore. Like that's going to be the noise part. The reality is there's going to be tools that are going to be able to help us really be more productive at work. And that's where we're going to be focused on in the conversation of AI agents or custom GPTs or specialized tools that do specialized things. That's sort of the language I like to use. The second area where I think there's going to be a lot of noise is going to be around this concept of AGI or artificial and general intelligence. And again, I think it's going to be a lot of hyperbole. I think it's going to be a lot of noise. And the reason I think that that's going to be a big topic of discussion is because, and not to get into too much details, but I believe in 2025, OpenAI is going to start to make a move to try to get away from their agreement with Microsoft. And so for people who don't know the background, Microsoft is a major shareholder in OpenAI. And the way their shareholder or their agreement works is that once the board of directors of OpenAI deem that artificial general intelligence has been reached, that changes the contractual sort of foundation of the agreement between Microsoft and OpenAI. And I think, and based on what I've been seeing, is that OpenAI has been pushing in a direction of trying to change the parameters of what it means to have reached AGI or artificial general intelligence. And so I think maybe in 2025, they're going to make a push to say, we've reached this thing. And the reason I want to mention this in context of this conversation, Josh, is because there's going to be a lot of noise around that. And there's already a lot of noise around that. And there's a lot of confusion around that. And, even the definition of artificial general intelligence isn't agreed on in the AI sort of space. And so, that to some people, that I would say the working definition most people agree with, it's like a point in time at which AI sort of is capable of doing all economically viable tasks that humans do. And like that's a pretty big deal if you think about it in context of business. And the reality
Yeah.
is in 2025, we are not going to be in that place. And so
Yeah.
I just want to mention it in context of this conversation because I think there's going to be a ton of noise around it. I think the media is going to be talking a lot about it, and it'll have zero relevance to business people trying to figure out how to adopt AI and how to make AI work for their organizations. So we're going to be focused on helping people adopt AI in their organizations, not on the deal between whatever Microsoft and OpenAI that's going to be creating all this noise out there. So I just wanted to put that on the record. And then the third piece that I want to talk about a little bit is also just 2025 is going to be a noisy year because, I think it's January 25th. There's a new president in the United States. His name is Donald Trump. And there are some people around Donald Trump that are pretty heavy hitters with big opinions around artificial intelligence, the direction. So I just think that AI, like, I think AI is going to take on a very, very big, significant part of the mainstream media with respect to the Trump administration, making investments in AI, situations related to America's role in the world and winning the AI race vis-a-vis China and all of these kinds of things. So you know, we got Elon in there, so it's just going to be very noisy. I think that a lot of people predicted that the American election was going to be sort of AI was going to be a big conversation, and I think it wasn't. But I think it is going to be a big part of a big part of the early Trump administration. So again, whatever people have opinions about Trump, people have opinions about Elon. Those are very polarizing and controversial figures, one way or the other. And so it's just they're going to make a lot of noise, right? And so I think as a result of what they're going to be doing, there's going to be a lot of analysis and there's going to be a lot of speculation and there's going to be a lot of talk about a lot of things that again are probably going to have literally zero impact on businesses just trying to adopt AI for their organizations. So that's kind of really macro level, big picture stuff that I think is going to just be like really consuming a lot of people. And my message, I think, and your message, Josh, is at Tourism AI Network, we're going to be even more focused on ever on cutting out that noise and just really focusing on, really what we need to do to help businesses sort of get on top of this thing and make the best out of the changing world that is artificial intelligence. I almost said artificial general intelligence.
I think that's
So
so
I guess,
spot on. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess in that context, Josh, let's talk a little bit about sort of, I guess, what that means for us in terms of supporting our clients and some of what we have planned in terms of how we're going to approach um, consulting based on what we learned in 2024 in 2025. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, the biggest change I think in consulting and helping our clients figure out how to get value out of these tools that are consistently getting better, they're always improving, there's a lot of change and noise, is creating very, very simple plans for people that help them take on AI tools into their daily work wherever they are. So what we did in 2024 was we tried a few different things in the consulting side of things, and we saw a few different patterns emerge. One, we tried to jump to kind of through the hoops of like, okay, we know AI can help, and if we can train somebody on generative AI prompting and the basics for themselves, that will reveal what automations and integrations and kind of technical opportunities lie inside of their business. And what we found with that approach is that it's actually skipping way too much and it's not helpful because we took a tech approach. In 2025, we're switching to a people first and tech, like in the third position, people, then process, then tech. Because we know the hardest part about AI adoption is helping people understand A, where AI can help them, B, helping people see opportunities in their day to day that they could turn to a tool like ChatGPT and actually get something done with it on something that's real for their job, not just something fun at home outside of work. And this whole kind of shift has really allowed us in the past like 3 months as we really like adjusted how we approach this at the end of 2024 learn about okay, well, then if we're not focused on tech first but we're focused on people, then we're really dealing with HR type tasks as practitioners. Like we're helping leadership make good decisions about how to help their team and lead their team step into AI adoption on a holistic level so that they do it in a coordinated way. We're also helping individual people identify that this is a skill worth building. It's just like working out. If you want to build muscles, you have to put in time. And AI capabilities and the tools that we have need like they're perfectly capable of helping business people, but people need to understand how to unlock that. So what we're really spending a lot of time on is getting into though I say getting into the weeds with people, like showing up to their work with them. And we've already tested this dozens of times, and it's so cool to see how well it works. What are you working on today? Let's find a way that AI can help you with that. And then start to build on, okay, once we identify the thing that they're doing today, maybe it's writing a report, maybe it's updating a process or a policy, we do it with them. Then we show them here's how we could maybe tailor or customize your ChatGPT tool to help you with this specific thing, like a custom GPT or a custom project. And then help them start to brainstorm then what else do you do that's like this? So they can start to basically develop their own intuition by identifying the patterns together. So we're bringing patterns to people. We've observed 2.5 years of what works for people and what doesn't, and that's where we're starting to really hone in is what's the quick win that we can find today. Let's use that as an opportunity to find the pattern. Like, is this you using a file to create a new file? Is this you taking two files and figuring out what's in them and how they relate? Is this you using data like a table and giving it to ChatGPT or your AI tool to analyze that data and talk to the data? Like these are the patterns we see that are successful using AI to go look on the internet, to go to someone's website and scrape it and crawl it. You can do all of this with a free ChatGPT account. And so we're really focused on holding our practitioner colleagues accountable to not gatekeep this like this whole approach, which I think was a big theme we saw in 2024 of like people gatekeeping, even like a custom GPT. Like I won't show my client, or I don't want to give my client the GPT we built together because maybe they'll steal it, my prompting, and like not get the benefit, and then I won't get the benefit later. And it's like that's just the wrong approach. So we're changing our methods because we realize like adoption spreads when people find patterns and they can share their own stories of like I saved 25 minutes today, I saved 2 hours yesterday, I saved, and it's all very practical, no technical complexity. It's screen sharing and using their account and using my account to show okay, click this button, type this here. This is how we build skills, and it's how we've always, humans always like have shared skills by like some level of osmosis of like, hey, watch me do this, we'll do it together, then you show it me while we're still together, and then I'll watch you. And by the time you get through that cycle, they're going to be more confident in their daily work. And if they want more time, we spend more time with them. And this is how we've seen adoption grow. and start to see it done successfully versus maybe what we did in 2024, which was really more of like an auditing perspective. Let's look at how you do your work and see where we can, okay, we're going to automate this whole process and connect these two apps. Like it's helpful, but it's not accessible to people because that's a tech approach. So the people approach is let's get
Yeah.
into your work together.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to sort of, I guess, really spell it out in terms of kind of how we're thinking of approaching this in a very clear, kind of as clear a way as possible. So first of all, we're going to be making available, you can literally just buy a 90-minute session. That's a one-on-one session, and it's like you just book our time, and it's literally what Josh said. What are you working on that you want AI's help to solve? And then it's literally, let us help you solve that problem, right? And so
Yep.
that way, what we've realized is, having a very sort of generic approach is really hard because people are in so many different places on their AI adoption journey, right? So I actually wrote a blog yesterday on LinkedIn, and it kind of talked about a couple concepts we've been talking a lot about, Josh, which is the concept of a 0 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000 and beyond, right? So what I mean by that is like some people are at zero, literally at zero. And so we've been through a number of workshops and sessions where, people, we've mentioned this on this podcast before, where people are like, I don't even know where to log in or how to log in. Okay. It's like that person needs a very different level of help than the person who's spent, 3,000 hours on ChatGPT, and now they're looking for help to create some specialized tool or some custom whatever or some more advanced thing, right? So what we think with that consulting approach of just book time with us, and it's like an open session, you lead the session in terms of where you want to go, really gives us the opportunity to help you where you need the help the most. And then also then gives us the opportunity to help put you on the right path based on where you are and where you want to go. So again, it's going to be a bit challenging in the sense of there's only so many hours in a day, and we're going to have to build a team of a network of people that can be here to support at different levels with different experiences, and we're going to be building that. We do have the team in place now. It's just a matter of scaling as we go. But then at the same time, like, we have our AI adoption framework, which is still going to exist and still going to be something we're offering. But even that, we've already started to make some amendments and some changes in the way we're approaching it. And so, for example, our third course, and Josh talked about this in his last response here, is really now our third course is focused on patterns, work patterns, and how to approach work patterns from an AI perspective. And so, again, it's just all very focused on very practical, like rolling up your sleeves at work, and how do you actually sort of like make this work for you at work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that actually I've been thinking about since our conversation about this yesterday, Josh, is even our enablement sessions. I think it would be valuable to rethink those a little bit. So just for people's kind of benefit, we have these enablement sessions as part three of our AI adoption framework. Is that those enablement sessions are essentially about a 75 to 90-minute session where we ask you a bunch of questions, learn about how you work, do all those types of things, and then that goes into a strategic AI roadmap. And I'm thinking, Josh, out loud on this podcast in front of everybody that's listening. I think it would be valuable actually to start those enablement sessions like first with like maybe a 30-minute start with, let's work on a problem to understand where you're at, kind of thing, right? Like,
Yep.
I think that's the best way to actually understand where people are really at, because the other reality of just human nature is when people feel intimidated, I don't want to say they're dishonest, but they probably like put forward sort of a facade of things. Like, they're scared to like maybe admit, hey, I've never even opened ChatGPT, or they're scared to, right? Like, there's this sort of like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm at a place where or think in my mind I should be more ahead of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I want to sort of like make it seem like I am, and like that's not helpful to anybody, right? Because
Right.
if you're sitting there in an hour and a half session, and then in the last 5 minutes you learn that the person doesn't even know where to log in to get into an AI system, it's like you've kind of failed that session, in my opinion, right? So I think it would
Been
be
there.
actually very valuable to, yeah, you've been there, right? We've been there. We've learned over the years. So I think it would be very valuable to like, let's start off with the first even 15 minutes. Let's like go and solve one small issue for you, or to help you think through one problem where AI could help.
Yep.
That would
Exactly.
really give us a good sense of where they're at, and then from there kind of continue on with the enablement section. That's just my brainwave yesterday. So anyways, so my point is this: working with us, it'll be any opportunity from literally just getting an hour or 90 minutes of our time, and you're in the lead in terms of where we go, all the way up to like the strategic AI roadmap, and the AI strategy that that comes out of that process. And then there's a couple of other kind of really practical things that are on my mind, Josh. Like I
Yeah.
definitely chatbots. I think there's a lot of organizations that are there already and are thinking about this. I've had lots of questions in the last 30 days about website chatbots. Obviously, for tourism, it's a big deal. So I see us rolling out very specific services to help people with chatbots. And by the way, chatbots, I don't mean just website chatbots, internal chatbots built on your SOPs, right? They could take many forms, right? So just chatbots in general, I see as a big opportunity. And then some of the kind of custom tools that we've been kind of building. So for example, Tourism AI Copilot Pro, just about ready to be rolled out, which is going to be awesome. Grant writing tools and other type sort of similar type things, which is really the things we've noticed already in the 2024 that are the issues that come up the most commonly and frequently as people, essentially every organization deals with. So we're going to be rolling out a suite of tools that kind of solve those problems already. That'll be kind of done for you so that, again, it's like we don't need to go through a whole workshop in the series or whatever. It's like if you're ready to buy those things and ready to install them and get them rolling, we'll be ready to roll them out. The other thing I think, Josh, that we have been working on a lot and talking a lot about is just kind of the quick AI wins and SOPs and things like that. So maybe you could spend a little bit of time talking about that.
Yeah, I think that'll connect the dots too on like if you're sitting here thinking, okay, I know about the roadmap, I know about the individual sessions, how does this all connect and how does it all like how do we do it in a coordinated way, right? What we found is once we understand where someone's at in their AI journey on an individual basis and we go through their team with different sessions and understand where leadership is at, now we kind of know where your baseline is and we all can share this vision of where do we want to go. We want to go to a place as like a partnership with our clients where they're seeing daily benefits from these tools, where they're creating more and more written down versions that explain the work they do, or I say versions, written down documents, like literally like files of like, here's how I do this thing, here's why I do this thing, so that basically they can start to then share that information as context with their AI tools so that they can have more and more work that they share together, right? So we help people build trust with these tools and teach them about the privacy concerns and teach them about all these different things because the documentation is what AI needs more than anything, the written down format. So while we start with like these loosely kind of agendaed sessions where we just meet someone where they're at, what can we help you with today? We get to learn about where they're at with their AI journey and on an individual basis. Once we start to do this across the board, there's a need to write everything down. And some companies have gone through the process of like creating what we call SOPs, where they write down, all right, to do this task, you or to do this project, you do these four workflows, and those workflows break down to these 20 tasks, and those 20 tasks are like the how-to guide to get that thing accomplished. When we're going through the AI enhancement process of an SOP, we're looking at all the steps in the process and we're identifying with someone as we're building their updated version. Here's where you could prompt ChatGPT to help you with this. And instead of, say, it taking you 45 minutes, it might take 2 minutes because you already have a framework, but you were going to have to look through a bunch of files. And that's one of the patterns is like look through a bunch of files and make sense of the correlation for an idea you have. Like we can now apply our patterns within the SOPs we're updating so that they can then learn, oh, this is a great task for AI. So we teach the patterns. We then show the patterns at work in their current way of doing something, and we just look to make it better with AI. So obviously, there's a lot that goes into that because everybody works differently. So each person will have their own kind of collection of these written down files that tell AI about what they do, but it also tells their peers. And there's a lot of problems people have at work in general. Like this is kind of a zoom out thought that I always like am trying to maintain when we're working with people is that people have bad relationship with work because of a number of reasons. One, everybody's overworked and underpaid everywhere. And like AI help us do our work more efficiently and spend less energy on the things that we do so that we feel less overwhelmed. Yes. So as we're working with people, we help them understand these connections of like, if you feel like you have a mountain of work to do and you don't even have time to use these tools and learn something new, that's exactly the trigger that you should identify as why you want to learn and develop your skills, because we can help you get past the overwhelm. We can help you get through that task list. And yeah, generally assume people have 10 hours or more of work that they can't get to every week. And the option isn't always go work overtime. And I don't think that's healthy as humans, like with our nature. So while we start shifting tasks over to AI, what we're really doing is helping AI understand the business logic that we use. And as business people, that matters. And the very specific way I do what I do is relevant and important. And if I just don't write that down and don't give it to AI when I'm working with it, it's not going to help me. In the same way that if you had no training in place and no written down anything for a new employee that you hire, they might be very smart, they might be very capable, they might bring great experience to the table, but they're not going to be able to do things the way that you do them unless you've explained that, right? So it's our way of explaining what we do and how we do it. All that to say, that's what an SOP is, and an AI enhanced SOP brings all these things together so that we can simplify everything into one file and hand that file to an AI and have it work with us. And that builds trust, and that builds kind of reinforces the patterns that we teach. And we found that then it gives someone a tangible, written down, documented like improvement to the work that they do, that they can go say, hey boss, I saved 5 hours a week with these three SOPs, and I think it's worth maybe documenting more of my work. There's a lot more I think we could write down. And then they start to build momentum, and the boss is like, whoa, I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so you're saying you saved 40 minutes here, you saved 25 minutes there, you saved an hour over there. Yes, how can I do that? Is how we all think as humans. So this builds naturally into wanting more sessions, which we can then hop in and meet people wherever they're at, right? Hey, you've gotten your first 3 or 4 like quick wins under your belt. Now you're a little bit more advanced and you're stepping into the next level up of your own intuition. So you're more curious, you have more ideas. Can AI do this? Can AI do that? So then we go meet you there and we say, here's how, or no, or yes, right? And so we just build momentum over time. And as you start to do this, if you haven't gone through this process as a leadership, now you start to see the real need for policies, for governance, for guidance, because you want your team to do this well and you want everybody to have the resources they need to do their job the best they can. And that's when we get to this T of like, should you have bought ChatGPT Enterprise or Claude Enterprise or Copilot Pro? Like, what's the right combination? Because or not combination, but really what's the right choice? Because most companies are buying one tool and their team is going to use that. And if there's a model that you really like the GPT models, then great, you go buy ChatGPT. But if you don't want to miss out on what's the best available, that's where we come in with our custom chatbot and Tourism Copilot Pro that allows you to talk to all of them and have all the benefits of the patterns that we learn and the GPTs we make. And, it just makes the whole process go a lot smoother and simplifies everything.
Yeah, nice. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, so it's gonna be pretty exciting, I think. I obviously everything we're doing, first of all, I'll say has been based on everything we've learned. I have said it before and I'll say it again. Consulting in this space is very difficult. Things are changing constantly. People have very differing opinions about what AI means. It's not dissimilar, honestly, to I kind of like, but it's more complex. But like in the marketing space, it's similar, right? So in the marketing space, it's like I had a conversation yesterday actually with Christina, and we have a client who she believes thinks that an organic social media post is an advertisement. And you know what I mean? And it's just like, and so it's like really hard to have a conversation about like, no, you need ads. And they're like, but they want social media posts. And it's like, you know what I mean? And it's not anything against this person. This is not their world they live in. And I just use that as a very simple example of like, even digital marketing is confusing in the world of digital and all that kind of stuff. AI is infinitely more so. And so we are committed 100% to try to just make it as not as simple as possible for people to understand and really accessible and approachable. That's kind of, for me, it's all about that. And I will say, and just let people know that everything that we've been doing and building and kind of working through at Tourism AI Network, I've been testing on myself, building for myself. So I am in the trenches doing this stuff and I'm a few steps ahead of you. But this is like everything, these AI empowered SOPs, the chatbots on top of your SOPs, the Tourism AI Copilot Pro. We're doing a transition, full transition right now from ChatGPT to Tourism AI Copilot Pro so that we can fully leverage that tool for our company. So nothing, I promise you, nothing that you do with me won't be something I've not tested on myself first. So that's just sort of, again, just kind of my philosophy overall. That's always how I've done my business. And also, in addition to that, we have a few tourism destinations and a few tourism operators who are kind of have put their hand up and said, "Hey, we want to test some things with you." So it'll be things will be tested with them as well. So that'll be that. I wanted to shift gears just a little bit, Josh, because we've talked a lot about ourselves on this podcast. in
Yeah.
terms of our company and our consulting and our approach. Without kind of getting too much into the noise per se, I'm interested in what you're kind of excited for in 2025 from what's coming out in AI, what you kind of think is going to be coming out that's, I would say, more on the practical and useful side of things for businesses that will be of value to people as opposed to all the noise we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think my top thing that I'm really excited about for this year in 2025 is tools becoming fully connected to the AI tools that we use every day. And what I mean by that is that people are getting more and more comfortable with using the interface of a chatbot as their means to get things done. And right now, it's often done in isolation in that like if I use Asana as my project management tool and I go talk to, I have a meeting and my AI assistant comes to my meeting, I get the transcript, I go to ChatGPT or Copilot Pro, and then I process that transcript. So let's create a summary and a project management update. And it processes the transcript, it creates a nice little plan, sends a message. I take that message, I put it in my email, it sends it, I send it, right? It doesn't, I do. And then I look at my Asana and I'm like, okay, great. I have these updates. I need to go into the tickets. But the AI I talked to, at least right now at the beginning of the year, isn't connected to my Asana. So I'm then going into that app and I'm using it. And in just that exchange, I used four different tools to get one thing or really two things done. And what I'm excited for, and they're working on really hard at all of the main AI providers, is creating a standard way for SaaS, like software companies, to connect their tools to AI in a way that then we can change the interface. So instead of jumping to four different apps and logging in four different times in four different ways, I'm just logged into my AI tool and it's connected to those apps on the back side of things, which you can do manually now as a techie. Like you can build your own integrations, you can do all of this coding and development, but that's not accessible for the rest of us. I'm excited for it to become accessible because they standardize the protocol across the board. And there's really good research and really good progress that's been made in the end of 2024 for this. But like 2025, when people talk about the noise of the agent, this is kind of what the conversation is centered around is we all want AI tools to use the tools that we use so that we can focus on one thing at a time, which might just be the chat in front of me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just help me understand a little bit more, if you don't mind, Josh, in terms of how you see that happening. Do you see the AI in your computer, the AI tool you choose, I guess, being sort of on top of every other tool and just being able to connect in? Is that sort of how, I guess,
Yeah,
without maybe
exactly.
getting too technical, is that sort of how it's going to be kind of working?
Yep, exactly. That is the way I see it, in that I, as a human, don't have to jump around to all the different apps to control those updates, right? There's things that need to do. I need to update project task boards. I need to, add note from here. I need to assign this to, Juan and all the different things, for example, right? Instead of like that having to be done through all the different interfaces, there's one interface that I'm talking to, and it's my AI tool, and it's connected to all my other tools. And in the same way as a user, I could go in and update those tickets and assign things to different people. My AI tool is now capable of doing that. And I didn't have to do anything hard to get it to do that. I didn't have to develop anything custom. I didn't have to spend time with my tech team. I didn't have to like become a programmer or use an AI tool to become a programmer. I can just simply log in and it work. And that is the promise of agents that's not here yet. It's something we're really hopeful for. It's what I'm excited about because it'll simplify basically getting more productivity in the hands of people, right? Without adding this need for everyone to think about like, do I need to become a techie? Like that's not it.
Right.
Everybody needs to focus on like being the best that you can and the ways that you are uniquely knowledgeable, contextually aware, like emotional, etc. Like these are the things that we do well as humans, and AI can do its admin.
Yeah, no, and I think that's to me always has been since the beginning of this AI revolution, the promise of AI, I think is for me, as I sort of just look forward as to what I think it's going to do, is making technology be so much more accessible for non-technological people. I think that is kind of like, if I'm going to, the simplest way to sort of kind of put it there is that the AI will now be able to kind of work with the technology to make the technology part easy, and
Yeah.
you'll just be able to like work with your thoughts and your ideas with the AI, and it'll like almost like translate your thoughts and ideas into the whatever it needs to do from a technology perspective, which is pretty exciting. I feel like, again, you and I have talked about
Very.
this, Josh, in the past, but like that was always the sort of promise of the internet and all this kind of stuff, and it turned out to be extremely complicated and hard for people to navigate. And so, I
Right.
mean, AI itself as a topic, as we the point of this podcast, is a very complicated and noisy topic, and it's a big topic, and there's a lot of moving parts, and it's extremely complicated. But from a just an individual user perspective, I agree with you. 2025 will probably be the year where all of a sudden technology will become so much more accessible to so many more people, and that's a pretty exciting future. And I think kind of I'm going to throw mine out, which is probably fairly similar to yours, honestly, but I'm going to spin it a little bit differently, which is the sort of the real explosion and functionality of multimodality. And so what I mean by that is, again, so, for example, I mean, basically all the AI models are already multimodal right now natively for the most part, which basically means they understand they understand language, they understand typing, they can see video, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like we're just on the cusp of something really magical there. And I'll share the story with you, Josh, but I haven't even played with it yet. But just yesterday, finally on my chat GPT on my phone, I got like a message being like, hey, your AI video chat is like now available to you, right? So what it is basically I can now basically like turn on basically a video camera through my chat GPT, and I could be showing it whatever I'm looking at, and it can see in real time what I'm looking at, and I can have a conversation with my AI about it. Like that is crazy. Like and then the other thing that happened to me this week is I went to the store for Christmas shopping, and I got to go and try on the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So for those people who don't know, Meta Ray-Ban glasses are essentially Ray-Ban glasses with Meta technology in it that have so it has a camera and a video camera in the what do you call these ear what do you call it on your glasses, your ear,
Earphone kind of
no,
microphone.
your earphone, whatever the thing that goes around your ears to hold your glasses up. I don't know what
Oh,
you
I don't know
call
what
that, but
that's called.
anyways, it's not important. There's a whole bunch of technology in there, so audio comes out of the arm of your glasses, for example, and you could talk to it and it can hear, and you can ask it about things. So these things were honestly like incredible. Like I've always kind of like been interested in them, and then I tried them on, and I couldn't believe how good the audio was. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So, again, imagine you got glasses on, and you can press a button, and all of a sudden you're recording, you can be talking to it, you can whatever, you can ask it about what you're looking at, similar to the chat GPT experience. So I think 2025 is going to be very transformative from this multimodal kind of perspective. And, from a tourism perspective, that's a big deal, right? I kind of have talked to people about what the future looks like for tourism is all of a sudden people now have their chat GPT open, and they're looking at your monument, and they're talking in real time to basically an AI model about, hey, I'm at the Washington Monument, tell me the history of this, or whatever, right? So all of a sudden, basically available now and like rolling out pretty heavily in 2025 is now everybody has an individualized chat, trained AI, personalized travel agent or travel guide, I should say, in their pockets, which is pretty transformative from a tourism perspective if you think about it, right? So I'm really kind of thinking a lot about that and what it means for tourism and how tourism businesses need to sort of think about that new future, right? Because it has implications for people. Like, are tour guides going to be of value anymore? Are you going to, I remember going to a place where they had these static kind of stations where you put on earphones and you listen to the history of this whatever you're looking at. Like, are people just going to use their AI tools now in real time to get that same kind of experience, right? So it's going to have some pretty big implications on tourism, I think. And so it's going to be something that I want to focus on a little bit in 2025, is just understanding what it means from a tourism perspective, and then what it means from a business of tourism perspective. Because, if you're not spending money or resources on, say, this, recording these things or doing whatever, maybe you need to spend money elsewhere. And, one thing that comes to mind and something that I'm going to be watching in 2025 a lot is just things like hallucinations as well. So, and I mention that in context of exactly this conversation because, I've had conversations with some people in the tourism space who have done some tests with like a chat GPT, for example, and it's like, hey, chat GPT, I'm visiting Chilliwack. Can you give me a, tell me what I should be doing while I'm here? And if it makes things up, that's a problem. Or if it's inaccurate, that's a problem. Or, you know what I mean? And so, as these kinds of tools start to get rolled out and people start using these tools in this way, it's going to have implications with respect to the accuracy of that information. And so now, how do we as a destination, for example, think about how to make sure those tools are fed with accurate information? And there's probably a search engine optimization component to that. And there's some probably other things to be thinking about, right? So, you know, I don't want to get too much into things that are noisy, but things are kind of going to get a little noisier on the digital marketing side of things and on the content side of things, and sort of on the understanding how to make sure that these machines have accurate information in them. And how do we partner, for example, with an open AI when they do their next training run as an industry to make sure that they're accurate from a tourism perspective? Or is web search going to fix that? To be determined, right? So there's just all these kind of things that are interesting in the way these things are developing. So yeah, so that's, I guess, kind of the main prediction. I guess just I'll ask you one more question, Josh, in terms of 2025 is for yourself personally in your AI journey, where do you see yourself kind of like personally wanting to see yourself go and spend your effort and your time sort of outside of just the consulting space? So like, is there anything that has kind of been on your mind as to, hey, I'm going to use AI to do this or that,
Mm.
or it's going to change this or that? And I really put you on the spot with this one. So,
No, that's okay. I think the main way I've been like using AI has been to extract the ideas I have of like business logic stuff. On a personal side, I really use AI to do very simple things in my life. Like I have a cousin who plays basketball and her game schedule came in on a PDF and I wanted to put it in my calendar. And so I had AI reformat that information into a CSV format that I could upload to my calendar. And it saved me 20 minutes or an hour just because I didn't have to type the information back and forth, right? Like that's how I use AI on my day to day. And what I try to do with it is carve out more time because I'm using it at work. I can carve out more time for my personal life for the things that matter. I'm a foodie, so like exploring like fusion combinations is one of the things I really like doing with my AI tools. Um, to combine new ideas like from this culture, that culture, this idea I have for that idea, and something that I read in a book. So yeah, those are the probably the two most practical ways I use AI. I also really enjoy like being able to just put it down and go live, and it just helps me get back out of work mode faster and into my personal life where I have all my loved ones and my family and my friends and the life that's in front of me beyond the screen. So that's kind of like I in some ways when I clock out, I'm like, cool, I can just like leave my phone and not have to worry about it. And in a world that, if you zoom backwards 2 years, like I couldn't get out of work like that. I couldn't just like stop working and then like move on. There's always something else to have to do. But because I'm more productive now, I get more time back.
it's awesome. I love that. Yeah. So I have two as well. One's a company one and one's a personal one. So on the company one, for me, it's really creating a really standardized kind of approach to what we do, using the tools to really kind of standardize ourselves. And so, you know this, Josh, but we're in a process of migrating from our ChatGPT tool suite that we've been using towards Tourism AI Copilot Pro. And as we're doing that, it's been a very good learning experience about like, hey, we created all these custom GPTs. There hasn't been a lot of standardization on how AI powered SOPs, all these different things, right? And what when I mean standardization, I don't mean we want to be cookie cutter. What I mean is we want to standard some parts of the process so that we can really think about where human ingenuity, human creativity, where the humans can really kind of enhance what we're doing. So sort of give, to your point of what you just said, give the humans more time to do good human work and to do the things humans thrive at, right? And so standardizing kind of the stuff that sort of takes away from that, because we're spending all this time on admin, or we're spending all this time on following up, or on, you know what I mean, and all this kind of stuff on moving files around, looking for files, documenting things. Like there's just like a list of tasks is endless, where I think AI can help. So I just really look forward to standardizing that across the board in my companies, to really make us more productive, and quite kind of similar to what you said, also like get more value out of the work we do, right? Just this morning at our huddle this morning, one of our staff people was kind of talking about we always do on Friday. We do always do this, like what works well and what worked well and what could be better. And what could have been better is like I really spent a lot of time like searching through my files looking for things this week because I couldn't find some stuff, and it's like that's such a like life sucking activity. You know what I mean? So if we can get rid of that for people, I feel really good at the end of 2025. On the personal side, I've had a book that's been on my mind that I've been wanting to write for a long time called Life by Design. I have all of the chapters laid out. I have it all laid out in my head, but the writing the book part is it's a big undertaking. It's time consuming, and specifically the research part. So what I'm actually really excited about in 2025 is I'm going to carve some time out on the side to write my book. But specifically, I want to use AI tools, generative AI tools on the research side, because there's some really amazing tools now that can help with research in ways that just weren't possible before. And now you can get the research done, you can get the references done. So I'm sort of planning to really get through that, the heavy part of the book writing process, which is like the really deep research, the really sort of finding the resources, finding the things to quote and all that kind of stuff. That's the hard part. The easy part is my ideas, but you got to back your ideas up with with research to make it legit. So I'm going to spend my goal is 2025. I'm not going to write Life by Design, but I'm going to get myself to a place where basically all the research components are done, and then I can kind of get the writing done, and hopefully either by the end of 2025 or maybe sometime in 2026 we'll launch that book, and then maybe I'll have lots of
I love
opportunities to
that.
talk about all that fun stuff. Nice. Awesome. So yeah, that's kind of our 2025 look ahead. A couple predictions, but also just some ideas on how to think about it from your perspective when you're thinking about AI adoption, and again, just a little bit about how we're going to be approaching it from a consulting perspective to make it accessible to you. And so we look forward to working with all of you and really making amazing things happen in 2025. So thanks a lot for your time, Josh. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Tourism AI podcast. To learn more about the network or get involved, visit our website at tourismainetwork.com or find us on socials at Tourism AI Network. We'll see you there.